Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest tonight is Mary Eileen Williams. Eileen is a career specialist, and she specializes in working with women over 50 to really reinvent themselves and make magic in their 60s and beyond. I'm really happy to have you here, Eileen.
Well, Margaret, this is a thrill for me, and talk about being inspired. You have already inspired me many times.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we've been Twitter friends for a little while, and I've loved sharing your posts, and just happy to find another soulmate on this journey. And we have 50,000 women in our 60 and Me community, and we're all unique, wonderful people, but we're dealing with some similar themes. So, theme for today. Or the first one. A lot of women, we've talked about this, are going through a transition, from a time when they were looking after other people, relationships, friends, marriages, and now they're looking to move into a time of their life when the focus shifts to themselves. It's their time. It's our time. So tell me a little bit about your lens on that. What you think in your observation with your community, becomes important in our 60s.
Well, I think a number of things become important, and this is such a rich time of life if we look at it that way. I think that in addition to children moving out of the house, careers changing, obligations shifting, there's also that physical aspect, which that's the gift of menopause, the ratio to testosterone and estrogen change, as you know. Yeah. And I think earlier, perhaps in our late 50s or mid 50s, for many women I spoke with, and certainly for myself, I was all about making my mark, showing the world I was there. This is my time. This is going to be all about me. But I have found a shift into my 60s where I still have those aspects, but that menopausal zest, that postmenopausal zest has mellowed a bit, and I'm becoming more introspective. I'm looking more towards authenticity, towards meaning in my life, towards a certain sense of spirituality. And I don't think I'm alone in that, Margaret.
No, I don't think you are at all. We have this conversation with the community a lot. And I think that what I loved about what you just said, though, Eileen, was that you don't give up the passion. You don't give up the wanting to do wonderful things, to give back, to enrich, other people's lives and, to enrich your own life. But you do it from a lens of introspection and wisdom and value-based kind of activity. So, okay, so we've decided that this is a time in our lives when we're going to start focusing on ourselves and creating this authentic being and moving that conversation. What are some of the questions that you think a woman in her 60s, either should be asking or from your experience is asking?
Well, I think first off, you want to identify the ways that you do see yourself changing. Mm-hmm. How is your life focused? How is, I like the words you use, lens on life, shifting and recalibrating at this age? Because as I said, there is a certain richness, I think, to this period in our life. So you want to think about that. And then also, I think this is the perfect time to redefine the word success for yourself right now. Yeah. What do you feel will make your life at this particular time, this decade and beyond, feel like a success for you? Again, that meaning, that purpose. Then I would get real specific with this. Come up with 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more markers that you can see, okay, this does show me that I am along the path that I want to be. Because again, I think one of the big things about being older that is actually a blessing in disguise is that we know we're not going to go on forever. Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that we do make the most of this time. And on that point, I would like to refer to a blog that you wrote that really meant a lot to me. And that was about the 3 life-changing things to do at this time. So I'm going to shift that back to you, Margaret. What did you find that is so important?
Well, I think that you've actually started to say some of them, which is, first of all, to really appreciate that there's something driving you towards the future that is deeper. And it's not so much spirituality, but it's just a sense of perspective and seeing how things connect, and having that value-based lifestyle that, where you're looking selflessly into the future, but with still, as you said, with purpose. And I think that's another thing, is to have that purpose that is redefined, so that the purpose is not, like you said earlier, career-based or success-based in the traditional sense, but is more driven by a sense of what you know is right. You know, it aligns to your true self. I can't remember the third one. What was the third one?
Oh, you do well. I remember it was put yourself first, which is something that is coming naturally to us again, both externally from obligations and internally from the gift of menopause, as I said, exploring your spirituality. And then the last one, facing your mortality. And that's a big issue.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting you should say mortality, because I just read an article that I don't know whether you saw this. It was in Next Avenue, and it was about time. And it was about feeling like time is running out, which to me is actually the heart of mortality. It's not so much a fear of death. It's a fear that you're not going to get to do everything that you wanted to do. Anyway, when you said earlier markers, one of the things that the writer, I think the author said, was as we get older, we are used to the world around us. It's familiar. So we don't make marker memories that make our life have meaning. So, we go for a walk and we don't say, wow, look at that beautiful tree is changing with the season. We just say, our trees change from, green to orange in the fall. But the idea is that when you're young, everything is new and you're marking your memories. So time seems to be stretching. And your mortality isn't on your mind because you're constantly grateful for what you are seeing and, making new relationships, even if it's just a person at the coffee shop you sit down with and say, hi, how's your day going? Anyway, so I think that's mortality for me. And what do you think about that? I mean, back to those 3 points.
Well, the thing that I thought when you brought up about how we might take a lot of things for granted, been there, done that kind of thing at this age, that's what when we think of mortality and when we think of what means success to us, we do want to make sure that we are adopting new behaviors and stretching our boundaries, doing new things, because it's not only good for our outlook, but it's good for our brain as well. I've been reading a book on how, again, you need to shift because you want to keep these neurons growing.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So no, I think that, probably if we think about this transition that we started at the very beginning talking about, from being outwardly facing to being more inwardly facing, those probably are the 3 things, to redefine your purpose and to put yourself first, to actually see gratitude in the world around you and, and see the value in your life and not be afraid of the end, but be living the present, like right in the now. And I think that, those 2 things are really important, along with this emerging sense of spirit and I don't know, I not just spirit, but value. I keep using that word, but it's the perspective. Do you think? I mean, that seems to me the 3 questions to ask yourself.
What does my life mean?
Yeah.
I think, again, as we go older, we tend to look back on things, but we also want to make sense of things. And we also want to have that feeling that, yes, it is important that I walked on this earth. Yes, I did leave these markers.
So self, I love it.
Last thing I'd like to add, Margaret, I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but I think it's also important while we're asking ourselves these big questions to ask ourselves a question that they use a lot in career or job interviews. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? So then you can get a sense of, okay, I'm here now, and these are the ways I want to grow, shift, and change, and make sure that I use this time that I have left most successfully for myself under those new definitions of success.
Yeah. No, I think that's really wonderful. And I think the reason that I was really happy to chat with you about this is that you did come from a career counseling background. So all of your life, if I understand your work correctly, you've been guiding people along a career path. And now with your site, Feisty Over 50?
Feisty Side of 50.
I should remember this. Feisty Side of 50. We'll put it up so people will see it. Okay. The feistysideof50.com. You're really taking women to the next place. Would you say that's true?
Well, I just think too, it's been around for a while. My blog's been there. I think I'm going on 8 or 9 years at this point. So I was really feisty. And now, as I said, I've kind of shifted and changed. And although I still keep that feistiness, I'm bringing some more mellowness into that as well, because I think, again, the journey for the 60s tends to be a little more introspective, perhaps, than 50s. Again, these are broad brush strokes I'm painting here. But absolutely, I think that as we've been talking about these big questions and this focus on things that are our ultimate gifts in life, I think it's important at this time.
Well, I encourage people to check out your site because you do great articles that inspire along these themes. And I think that the more people that are doing this, that, I mean, there are a lot of women in our community who are just looking for someone to hold hands with on this journey. It's not an easy one. We're not fighting, but we're dealing with a lot of ambiguity in the world and in terms of what our value is now, what our purpose is. And I think asking yourself those questions makes you stronger. And I think the more people that help to frame it like you do, the better. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Margaret.